Okay, this is part 10 of Federalist number 4. I'm still reading the last paragraph, the long paragraph, which is beautiful. So let me repeat one of the sentences before I continue with the rest of the paragraph. Know, my countrymen, shut your ears against this unhallowed language. Shut your hearts against the poison which it conveys. The kindred blood which flows in the veins of American citizens, the mingled blood which they have shed in defense of their sacred rights, consecrate their union and excite horror at the idea of their becoming alien, rivals, enemies. Americans have lived side by side for a long time. They shed blood in this last war when they fought against Britain. Don't let anybody use this unhallowed language, this sinful language that we cannot unite. We can unite. Our future, our destiny will be better if we unite. Don't let them tell you that this is your imagination run wild. And if novelties are to be shunned, believe me, the most alarming of all novelties, the most wild of all projects, the most rash of all attempts is that of rending us in pieces in order to preserve our liberties and promote our happiness. He says, don't listen to them that they call what we are talking about uniting a novelty, something that's just imaginary, something that's not going to happen. It is so new to thought that you must be crazy to imagine it, to propose it. He says, no. The ones that tell you we need to be divided, we need to have 13 countries or 4 different confederacies, they are the ones that are rash. They are the ones that are not thinking. They are the ones that are not wise. So keep that in mind. If there is a wild project, it is these people who say we cannot unite and stay disunited. It's a wild idea if we stay disunited and think that we are not going to go to war amongst one another and or not be invaded by other countries, other European countries. So that is crazy. To think that is crazy. But why is the experiment of an extended republic to be rejected merely because it may comprise what is new? Is it not the glory of the people of America that whilst they have paid a decent regard to the opinions of former times and other nations, they have not suffered a blind veneration for antiquity, for custom, or for names to overrule the suggestions of their own good sense, the knowledge of their own situation, and the lessons of their own experience. He says, isn't it amazing that we are in a situation that we can actually not be blind to the veneration of our past. Not like most of humankind, not like most of humanity, Europeans, to say, okay, we have this system, it's called monarchy, we better keep it for all times. He says it's good to respect some of the things that are in the past, but we don't want to chain around our neck a chain of customs, the chain of other things that will drag us down when we need to think anew, when we need to think about greater possibilities. Plus, this thought, this new plan that we are uniting, it is based on our experiment of the past decade or so. So he says it is amazing for us because we are not blindly obeying, blindly praising the past. or other people that have lived in the past. We are thinking, we are mature, we are wise, we've had plenty of experience, he says, over this past few decades. So we can learn from it and live under a government, live united under a government that will give us all a chance to prosper. Then he continues, to this manly spirit, posterity will be indebted for the possession and the world for the example of the numerous innovations displayed on the American theater in favor of private rights and public happiness. This is going to be wonderful for the world, he says. He says, and this land, it's America, we're going to unite under this new constitution. We're going to, by uniting, we're going to respect and not violate private rights and public happiness. And with our innovation, with our discovery in the establishment of a new form of government, we will be a beacon to the rest of the world, a symbol that they don't have to live under kings and monarchs. They can live in a republic, they can have representatives that will serve for a limited number of years. They can live under a constitution that was ratified by them, and they will definitely be prosperous, and their freedoms, their liberties will not be in danger. Had no important step been taken by the leaders of the revolution for which a precedent could not be discovered, no government established of which an exact model did not present itself, the people of the United States might at this moment have been numbered among the melancholy victims of misguided counsels, must at best have been harboring under the weight of some of those forms which have crushed the liberties of the rest of mankind. Happily for America, happily we trust for the whole human race, they pursued a new and more noble course. They accomplished a revolution which has no parallel in the annals of human society. They reared the fabrics of governments which have no model on the face of the globe. They formed the design of a great confederacy which is incumbent on their successors to improve and perpetuate. If their works betray imperfections, we wonder at the fewness of them. If they erred most in the structure of the Union, this was the work most difficult to be executed. This is the work which has been new, modeled by the act of your convention, and it is that act on which you are now to deliberate and decide. So, luckily for us, he says, Americans broke away from Britain and built on some of their traditions. They experimented with new things. They told the states during the war to write your constitutions and establish governments. He says, luckily, we've had experience with this. Happily for human race, for all of humanity, that Americans have experimented with different forms of republics, and with their experience now are establishing another government, a union that will someday be a model for the rest of the world to emulate, to learn from. Just like when we wrote this Constitution for you, American people, we learned from the different experiments that had gone in all these 13 states, because every single one of them tried something new. And with that experience, Hamilton and the rest of the people in the Federal Convention, Constitutional Convention, came up with this blueprint. I believe we members of the human family have to do the same thing. Learn from experience and learn from what other people have gone through. America's experiment in federalism, I believe, like I've said many times, is the greatest gift to humanity. And I think we will have to study this federalism. That's why we're working on the Federalist Papers, which is the alphabet of language of federalism. And then we're going to have to study the other forms of federalism, as well as the progress of the progress of European Union, see what their weaknesses are, what their strengths are, and learn from those, and one day sit and unite the human family. It is unbecoming for us to go generation after generation and not unite, waste a lot of money, resources, and unfortunately, sadly, sadder than all of it, to put ourselves in a state where we can distrust our neighbors and start wars for no reason. That is crazy. So I hope you go over this Federalist number 14 and look at what he's asking from Americans to be hopeful for the future. And I think we members of the human family should do the same thing. We can unite. There will be a lot of people whose pockets will be hit. They think they will lose money because they got a sweet job going in their country, or they are getting money on the side and they don't want things to change. They want to take advantage of that money that's coming in to their pockets and their families' pockets. So they'll be the naysayers, part of the naysayers. Stay strong, stay hopeful, and our future will be brighter.